How's it going, guys? So I figured we do something a little bit different here on this channel. I'm going to show you all my Switch games. Now, most of them are going to be physical copies of the games because I'm just a big proponent of physical media, as I've stated here before. Now, a lot of these first few games I'm going to show you are the first couple of games I bought for the system, and then they're going to kind of be randomized after that. So I have some other digital games that I have on my Switch. Not a lot. They're only like games if I can't get them physically on the Switch. I just simply downloaded them. And so I'm going to show you those there at the end. So here, let's start off, guys, with the first game that I ever bought for the system. And that was Let's Go Pikachu. So I bought this Switch at the end of 2018. And, that was the last straw. Like, when this game came out, I was like, I need to play this remake of one of my favorite games of all time. The Pokemon, well, this one's based on Yellow, but, Red, Blue, they're all the same. So I had purchased Pokemon Red maybe a few days after it was launched, or my parents did, for my birthday back in 1998. The first time we got a taste of Pokemon Fever, and I was so excited as I was playing through that game that, even as a 32-year-old adult, well, I was younger when I bought this. I was 31, but but anyway, I had to play this game. And, if you guys go watch my review here on this channel, it's a pretty glowing review. A lot of people have mixed reactions about this. Catching mechanics are kind of wonky, but it's a fun experience. And, this is definitely a game that all Pokemon fans should own. I believe that if you're a Pokemon fan, you should at least try this game. I think you'll probably be pleasantly surprised. Don't listen to what everyone else is saying about it. I think you'll find something or a great deal to like about the game, especially if you like Pokemon Yellow. Anyway, the next couple of games are games that I've got from Christmas, from my family, and here we go. Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze. Now, this was another reason why I had to buy the Switch. I was replaying, and you guys can see the reviews, the timeline on my channel, replaying all three Donkey Kong Country games for the Super Nintendo, and I was like, I need to buy the new game. Now, Donkey Kong Country Returns kind of turned me off on the Wii because it forced you into motion control, so I never ended up buying or playing that game. But this is such a good platformer, such a good follow-up. I can't help but feel that I would prefer to have, K. Rool in here. I am hoping that when they do a sequel to this game, and the only thing that's a little bit scary about that this game was released at the end of 2013, and now it's, 6 years later or so, and we're still waiting on the sequel. This is an amazing game. If you're a fan of Donkey Kong Country, or just platformers, you need to play this game. This is just it. This is a Wii U game, and it doesn't look much better than the Wii U, but still, this is if you don't own a Wii U and you own a Switch, you need to play this game, and you need to own this game. Or you got to download it or buy it physically. Up next, we've got The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild. And if you watch my review, I like this game. I like it a lot. I spent a lot of time with it. I completed the game. I didn't do everything, but I spent many, many hours with the game. I didn't hate the shrine format, but I do prefer full-fledged dungeons. I kind of like the exploratory nature of the game and how it, gives you an open world. But, sometimes, I don't know. The open world concept, when it was like really introduced big time with GTA, it was a really fun concept. But sometimes big open worlds are a little bit, kind of overwhelming for me when there's so much to do. And you're like, oh God, this game's going to take forever to play. And with me, it's like, I love playing the games that I like. It's such a simple-minded statement to make, but I always have, other games, on the mind, on the brain that I want to play. So it's like, I can't help but feel that I want to, go and explore other games. But like, so this is a very, 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 very long game. This is without a doubt the longest Legend of Zelda game there probably ever was, and I thought Ocarina of Time was long. This is a very long game, but it's a lot of fun. The other thing, you had the bosses, kind of unimaginative. You had the big guardian creatures. They, the four guardians of Hyrule. I'm kind of forgetting if that's what they called them exactly. But, you would go inside them and, I don't know. I just felt like the design, just like the same thing with, the individual shrines. It just, I don't know. It should have, it feels very dicey. Just like, I'd rather it be the old way. And I know they were going for something new. And I know they're probably going to go back to it again in the sequel. But I just hope that we're not completely over and done with those classic dungeons that we saw for so many years and decades in Link to the Past, Ocarina of Time, Majora's Mask. I want to see those classic dungeons back. I hope they're not gone. But, still a great game. If you own a Switch, it really is a must-have. But I do have a few complaints, without a doubt. I can't... I gotta be honest, and I gotta say, it's not my favorite Legend of Zelda game. And I'm not the one making these games, and people will even tell you that. But I have to be a little bit critical. So go watch my review if you want my full thoughts on it. Undertale. Okay, I expressed also in another review how much I adore this game. Now, I know that it can be purchased a lot cheaper on the PC, but hell, I want a physical copy of the game. I love the fact that they made a physical copy of this game. And it really is just a real treat. If you're into stories and, reading great dialogue and some great characters, this is a very, very simple RPG. But this game is not about gameplay. It's all about the story. It's all about the choices you make. It's all about the humor. And, the music, the soundtrack is amazing. So, if you have not played Undertale, listen, I know that, the fan base is very cringy. But if you could overlook the fan base and focus on the game, because remember, the game and the fan base are two separate things. The fan base doesn't make an appearance in this game. So, keep in mind, Toby Fox is really a genius, and he made this game. It's not a very long game either. If you've got 5 hours to spare, even throughout several days, this game, you could, there's a lot of save points and everything. It is definitely worth your time. It might not be your style of game, and it might not even be your style of RPG, but I think it really is worth a look, because I avoided this game for quite some time, mostly because it was on PC, but the Switch gave me the perfect excuse to go and play the game, and I'm so happy I did, because I'm going to have a lifetime of memories of it. Monster Boy and the Cursed Kingdom. I talked about this in my review, how I came across this game. So it's an offshoot of the Wonder Boy series that was in the arcades and the Sega Genesis. I think it started back in the late 80s, very early 90s. This has such a charming art style, and I love the music, I love the gameplay, I love everything that it has to offer. It is such a great, anime style platformer, action adventure. There's so much to love about it, and it was one of those games where I picked it up, and I'm like, I don't know anything about you, but I know I'm going to like you. And I went back and I read about the game. I put it back on the shelf. I read about the game and I looked at it online. I was like, I need to own this game. And, it's funny that they said that this game, it's also for the Xbox and the PS4, Xbox One. And it outsold it it sold 4 times the copies on the Switch. So it's just something about the Switch and fun, cute platformers, with funny stories. They just seem to mesh so well. Wonder Boy. Yep, because I played Monster Boy and I liked it so much. This is basically a an updated HD, remake of Wonder Boy 3 for the Sega Genesis. And I never played that game. Now, this has a lot in common with Monster Boy. It certainly does, without a doubt. But I didn't really like it as much. But it is definitely a great game. And I love how you could go back and forth between the 16-bit graphics and the new updated graphics. It's a really good and fun game. It's funny that this game actually has a lot of the music that this one does, but it's done better in Monster Boy. This is also charming. There's like, some acoustic and different little remixes. Definitely a fun game. It's a short game. It's a difficult game. There's some parts in this game that are kind of frustrating, but it's nothing too overwhelming. But yeah, definitely if you like the Wonder Boy series, I would say definitely go check it out. But if you had to decide what to buy first, go for Monster Boy. I think it's a better game. Octopath Traveler. So I'm going to review this game. I've already got the footage for it and everything recorded. I did not play the whole way through. There are 8 characters, that's why they have the prefix here, Octo, and, Path, right there. There's definitely some characters that are more interesting than others in this game, but they all have something unique about them. But it's very, very long. I'm taking a break from it right now. I might review what I've experienced so far. I think I could do a review without playing through the final boss. But everyone has their own stories. And, it's really fun. Very Final Fantasy-esque RPG. It's a JRPG. Great voiceovers. I played it with the English dub, of course, because I've talked about this before. When it comes to anime, I always watch it with the dub. I'm not a big fan of reading subtitles. It's not something I like to do. I don't want to sit there and read. I'll read a manga or a comic book if I want to do that. I'm going to listen to it. So this is definitely a great game that has some interesting storytelling to it, some great characters, some great retro style artwork. They make it look like it's on the Super Nintendo, but the backgrounds definitely remind you that you are playing this on a modern console. Definitely, if you're into JRPGs, you need to play this game. People have complained that it's repetitive, and it kind of goes through the same cycles, and it might not have the branching, story of a Final Fantasy, but that's not really what it sets out to do. It's really focused on the characters. It's also, they don't bridge character stories together. They sometimes talk to each other, but it's kind of, it doesn't feel as interconnected, and that's what people complained about. The 8 characters don't really cross paths. When their story takes place, it's kind of like, oh, it's your turn, and you don't really see the other characters following along with you in your party. Cave Story. I am actually playing this game right now. It's, people have complained about the difficulty of it. It's not really too hard. It gets pretty hard at the end. But it's a great platformer. It's a shoot platformer. There's a few different endings. So it is very Undertale-ish in that way. I'm not enjoying it as much as Undertale. There's definitely more to it gameplay-wise than Undertale. There's a lot of different weapons. I don't really feel like all the weapons are that great. I like the machine gun, but I heard that now that I got the machine gun, I'm not going to get the most perfect ending to the game. But expect a review very soon on this one. Hollow Knight. This game is completely unopened, but I'm looking forward to playing it. I've owned it now for several months, but I promise I'm going to get around to this Metrovania indie game. And if you notice, there's a theme. There's a lot of like indie developers here that I've talked about so far, and that's intentional. The Switch offers a lot of indie games in physical form, so it's a great excuse to finally be able to play them. Sonic Mania. Okay, and this is the outer box. It's too hard to get it out there without the the art book falling out. But I already own this game on the Xbox One, and I already own Sonic Mania Plus. So on the Xbox, I bought that digital download, the DLC. So but I needed to get a physical copy, and I was like, I'm gonna get it for the Switch. It seems like more people bought this for the Switch than any other console because Sonic to me just seems more at home on the Switch with Mario and the rest of the crew. Definitely a great game. I don't agree that it's the best Sonic game ever. I think many people are just saying that because it's the newest 2D Sonic game and it captures the heart and essence. The only thing of the old games, but I will say this. I really wish that there were newer levels. I do kind of feel like Christian Whitehead and the team kind of copped out a little bit with the old, redesigned levels. It is fun to travel through them with different takes and everything, but it would have been nice to have a whole new adventure. And I don't think that Sonic fans would have really minded so much if we got totally different levels and we didn't have to go back to Green Hill and Chemical Plant and Flying Battery. Because the thing is, we did experience a lot of those levels back in Sonic Generations, which was only like 6 years before this game was released. So I didn't think it was entirely necessary for them to have to go back and retread through old water. Shantae, half genie, half hero, Ultimate Edition. So this was, a online, exclusive game for quite some time. But I have not played this game yet. I opened it up, but it's definitely has the same type of graphical appeal as Monster Boy, where it looks like you're playing a live action cartoon. And I like that about this game. And Shantae has been going. This series has been going on since the Game Boy Color. It's been out since like 2001. I've never experienced a Shantae game, and this is going to be the first time I play it. So we're going to get to it eventually. But I have not played that one yet. So here, I've got some other games here that we're going to talk about. Celeste. I'm working on a review of this game, so stay tuned. I'm going to be talking about it. Great platformer, great action adventure, great story. We're going to be talking about this momentarily here on this channel, so just hang tight for that review. I've got to finish editing it up. Crash Bandicoot N. Sane Trilogy. I just talked about this game on the channel, so we're going to move on. Go watch the review if you want to hear more about Crash. And I reviewed only the first game in it, so there's going to be more reviews. There's 2 other games here, obviously. It's a trilogy. Turok. This is a limited run game, and which, by the way, Celeste is too. This is limited run. You could buy it at Best Buy, though, so you don't really have to worry about overpaying, for scalper copies of it if you missed it. But anyway, back to Turok. So I opted to get both games. We've got Turok and Turok 2. So these are like the remakes with the updated graphics, but they didn't really change them too much. They're still very, very much in the vein of the N64. They give you selections, though. You could do the N64, the PC soundtrack, which is cool. I've never played Seeds of Evil 2, so I'm looking forward to that. But Turok 1 is definitely a difficult game. It's a frustrating game. It is a fun first-person shooter, though. And I like the concept, hunting dinosaurs and everything. Anything having to do remotely with Jurassic Park or the prehistoric era has always captured my attention. He's based on an old comic book, which I didn't even know. I thought back in the day when I played it for the first time in '97 when I rented it from Blockbuster that it was just an original game for the Nintendo 64, but it turns out that it wasn't. It was based on the comic. Shovel Knight. I just bought this game. It came out like a month or 2 ago, so it's still in the shrink wrap, but we're going to be getting to it. There's a lot of different Shovel Knight games contained within here, as well as the main story. I had been waiting a long time to get this. It was like I saw it at the beginning of 2019. I waited to the whole end of the year to buy it. Saw it in Best Buy, scooped it up. Freedom Planet, another game that we're going to be talking about here on this channel. It started off as a Sonic fan game, and it definitely is very Sonic. I really like the characters, and I really like the gameplay. It's a very interestingly designed game. It's not very Sonic in some parts. It is Sonic in some other parts, but I think they did a good job of transforming this into a different experience with different challenges. There's some good boss battles here. It's very retro style. Great looking graphics. It's a beautiful looking game. Definitely a recommendation. Street Fighter 30th Anniversary Collection. I've not played this game yet. I've played many of the games on here. It is on, it is obviously a collection. So, I'm going to get to this one eventually. I haven't really been in the mood to play it, a fighting game. I'm not a big fighting game fan, but I definitely do like me some fighting games, especially if it's the Street Fighter series. I wasn't too crazy about Street Fighter 4 or any of the 3D ones, but these are all the 2D Street Fighters, and I'm going to be playing those eventually. Luigi's Mansion 3. Now, the only reason why this game is shrink-wrapped is because for Christmas, I got Super Mario Odyssey, which I had never played before. And you might be saying, wouldn't that be one of the first games you buy for the system? I don't know. There's just so many things I wanted to buy for this system. I completely, just didn't overlook Mario, but kind of I'll buy it eventually. I'll buy it eventually. And so, I played through this great game. It feels kind of short, especially if you don't go for everything, but it's definitely one of the shorter Mario games, but it's a beautiful looking game. It's fun, it's entertaining, it's got a nice sense of humor. It's got a pretty decent challenge, more so than the other Mario games of the past. So I don't want to play another Mario game right away, even though it's a different gameplay style, so I'll be playing Luigi eventually. Pokemon Shield, we talked about this game already. I happen to really like it a lot. A lot of people don't. It's very split down the middle, but I would still recommend that you give it a try and see what you think. Ni no Kumi. Very weird sound name. Wrath of the White Witch. So I watched the Electric Playground. I watched Victor Lucas talk about this game, and it just looked like something I would like. So I went for it. I was like, yeah, it's a JRPG. Seems like it's got some fun characters and some magic and some good gameplay with a nice nice world to explore. So I was like, yeah, I'll give it a try. I've never heard of it before. It's an older game that was released to the PS4, but I think they added some extra things to the Switch edition, so I'm looking forward to playing this one. I don't know when I'm going to play it. It's obviously going to be a long game. It is a JRPG after all. Which brings me to my next game. Dragon Quest XI. Oh my god. I mean, you want to talk about a long game. I reviewed this game. This was an absolute treat. My first ever Dragon Quest game ever. I was always fascinated by Dragon Warrior on the Super Nintendo because I was like, wow. Those characters look a lot like Dragon Ball Z, and Akira Toriyama helped design a great deal of them. This is, believe it or not, side by side from the PS4 graphics. Even though the Switch is graphically inferior, the game looks better in some parts, brighter, sharper. Great gameplay. There's also many extras, a symphonic soundtrack that they added to the game. Completely reworked soundtrack. They let you play with retro graphics, very much akin to the Wonder Boy game that we talked about. So, that was just, it was a real treat. It's by Square Enix, same people who make Final Fantasy. and a lot of other great JRPGs. So this is very, very different than a Final Fantasy game. Maybe not completely different, but it's got a different style to it. It's got a different flavor. And that's one of the things I like about this game. The characters, the flavor of the game. It keeps things interesting. Different bosses, different allies. You get a lot of different party members where it makes it difficult to decide who do you want on your team because they're all so great and charming. And then we get our last game here, and that's before we do the digital stuff, and that's the Legend of Zelda Link's Awakening. So, I don't know, I didn't experience a lot of the slowdown that people are talking about. It is a very short game. I am kind of, sad that I waited, from when they announced this game, which was like in January of 2019 to September, and I was like on bated breath. I couldn't wait. And then when I finally finished the game, I was like, oh man, like I really wish that they threw a few extras in there and it wasn't like so faithful to it, but I can't complain. I love the graphic style, it's great. I did not really see the slowdown, guys, that people are talking about with this one. So if you haven't played this game, I don't really think the slowdown is as big of a complaint as many people are making out. So, those are the common complaints. It's too short. There's some slowdown. The frame rate's not consistent. But I don't know. It didn't affect my enjoyment. I really liked going back and playing this game. It is a great remake. It looks fantastic. I like the reworked soundtrack. Great soundtrack. Definitely got to check this one out. So now that we've done the physical games, let's go to the digital ones. Deltarune. I have not played this game yet. This is the first part of Deltarune, but I'm looking forward to when I do play it. It is the kind of the spiritual successor to Undertale. There's a little bit of a connection there. I'm going to see exactly what it is. I don't want to look at the spoilers, but I played through Undertale twice, getting different endings, and I wasn't ready to move on to this one yet, but I will eventually. Jedi Outcast. Jedi Outcast, I played this game recently for the GameCube. I haven't gotten around to reviewing it yet. It is a game that was originally released for the PC. It was for the original Xbox, so it's a few different ports, but this game looks really sharp. I wish there was a physical release of this game, but it is nice to have a nice HD Jedi Outcast game that you could play on your TV, and you don't have to resort to playing the PC version if you're really a console guy and you want the best possible port of Jedi Outcast, because this is it right here. Grim Fandango. I had no idea what this game was years ago until I saw it on G4 Tech TV. They did a special on this game, and it's very much akin to Escape from Monkey Island, those classic point and click adventure games from the 90s. So I figured this game was $1.99. It was on sale. So I just had to buy it and finally experience it for myself, and I'll let you know, guys, what I think about it on this channel. But this is supposed to be a real classic, funny, entertaining game that has a lot of humor and style. Another game that I have to play, but it's not here on the Switch, is Sam and Max. I know there was a few of these games, and they revived it many years after the original games. But here, we're going to start with Grim Fandango and see how it is. I do like point and click adventure games. Like I said, I like story. I like dialogue in games when it's fun and witty. So, I'm looking forward to playing this one. So, there you go, guys. I hope you enjoyed this video and hearing me talk about my Switch games. Let me know, about your collections. I'm sure there's people that have far bigger collections. I know some people personally that have way bigger collections than me. You know, they get like limited run games delivered to them like as soon as they come out. And I did that with a few of them, like with Turok and Freedom Planet. But you know, some games don't really interest me from limited run. But anyway, guys, thank you all for watching. Subscribe if you haven't already. Click the bell so you get all notifications when I post all my new videos. And guys, I'll see you next time.